So we have Jamie Norwood and Cynthia Plotch coming up. They are the founders of Stix. We also have Isoken, but we also have Kathryn of Magpie coming up. And then we have our wonderful moderator, Kathleen from Parcion Wealth Management. She moderated last year. We're so excited.
Good morning. Good to see you.
So nice to see you.
Good morning, ladies.
Hi.
I haven't even had an opportunity to say hi yet. But so I guess before I get started, I just want to say I'm really excited to be back this morning. I got to attend this for the first time last year, and well, first off, when you have Sally Krawcheck kick things off, like also, I mean, that was pretty badass to also curse like Caroline here. But I was just blown away by the level of speakers, the audience, and the engagement. So honored that we could be back and help sponsor. So thank you both again. My name is Kathleen Carbone, and our company is Parcion Private Wealth, and we founded our firm 4.5 years ago, lifting our team out of UBS Private Wealth Management to build a firm to better serve the needs of our business owner clients and their families. So we are a multifamily office based out of Bellevue, Washington. So this came especially early for me this morning. But we work exclusively with business owners across the country and really global. We do have some international clients and support them leading up to, through, and after life-changing liquidity events. So I don't... Yes, everyone here should have life-changing liquidity events.
Working on it.
Yeah, we'll chat, ladies. But
my eyes going to start to twitch, but it's fine.
Yeah. As far as I know, we're the only firm nationally that works exclusively with business owners, and so with that, we have a lot of experience just with the unique planning needs for business owners, especially around supporting them on the personal side through a transaction. So while wealth management and financial planning is what we do, what we're known for more than anything is helping our business owner clients unlock the true potential of their wealth. And what I mean by that, when I say that, is we show them how to take care of the people they love. Oftentimes, this can be for generations, and we help them preserve the legacy that they've built by keeping more of what they've earned for themselves, their families, and their communities. And then as a result of working with us, which is amazing, our families often tell us that they have more confidence and clarity to think bigger about what's next, especially after a transaction, because that can be a scary time. But my role at Parcion is twofold. I'm the director of advisory, so I lead up our team of advisors. We have Stacey Cradaville in the audience, also all the way from Seattle, Washington. But then I'm also a lead advisor, just like Stacey is, for a select number of families at Parcion. And then one last item before we get started, because I'm absolutely not the main event here. There is a little bit of propaganda on the tables. That is ours. That is a white paper that we drafted called The 5 Steps to Optimize Wealth Events. So whether you're 6 months to 6 to 10 years away from a partial exit or a full exit of your company, or if you're an advisor to business owners, I encourage you to grab a copy, or we can also send a digital version. There's some tangible planning items you can start thinking about now, building the right team around you, going through the mental thought process of selling your business, because there's a large loss of identity and community when you sell your company that I don't think people really think about. And then, of course, there's ways to save on taxes, but who cares about that? So my goal for Parcion Private Wealth is to be known as the multifamily office for female business owners and their families. So, that directly aligns with the ethos of Rogue Women's Fund, this event, and again, why we were so excited to have the opportunity to be here today and help sponsor all the way from the other side of the country. So, kicking us off, though, Kathryn, why don't you start sharing us a little bit about yourself and Magpie?
Absolutely. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kathryn Harrison. I'm the founder and CEO of Magpie. Today, Magpie is a software platform that helps collectible sellers. So think trading cards, comic books, sneakers, watches, jewelry, etc. It helps them manage all of their business operations. This is just the first step in building the Bloomberg for collectibles. You may not know this, but $80 trillion worth of assets is going from baby boomers to millennials and Gen Z. Last night, Cynthia shared a story about her family dealing with the next generation, trying to deal with all of the stuff that goes with it.
I didn't use the word stuff, though.
That's true, she did not. But her family found a 1 of 8 select print that had incredible value, one of which was hanging in the Met. So this is an absolutely massive market. There's $430 billion worth of collectibles out in the market. And if you're trying to figure out what you have, what the price is, and where to sell it, it's an absolute nightmare. I lived this firsthand with my father's collection of Brooklyn Dodgers baseball cards. And we have just seen an incredible opportunity to be able to understand the value of these assets in a totally new way. So, and we're part of Rogue Fund too. So thank you, Caroline.
Hi, I'm Jamie Norwood. I'm one of the co-founders of Stix, and Stix is a vaginal and reproductive health brand, and we're on a mission to empower confident health decisions through at-home diagnostics and sex education. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Cool. I'm Cynthia. I'm one of the other co-founder at Stix. I normally start an introduction of myself by saying the word vagina just to get people used to it. But I feel like in this room we're probably okay, which is great. Like Jamie kind of gave the introduction of what we do, but I can add a little bit more color. So we really think about, giving women everything that they could possibly need to make the decisions that they have. So that's everything from products and education to also confidence and empowerment.
Great. And then just to kind of double down on the origin story a little bit too, could you each share what sparked you to start these companies and how you took that leap? And then I'd love to know the background of how you came up with the names too of your companies.
I can start with our origin story. So Jamie and I had worked together for many years, and we started daydreaming about starting a company, but we had no idea what it was going to be. I think we had a lot of really bad ideas, actually, about what it could be. And then one day, I was buying a pregnancy test, and I ran into my boyfriend's mom. Yes.
Wow.
Laughter is acceptable. And I called Jamie crying. She was my friend, my coworker, and a confidant. And it really quickly went from this moment of, I'm going to curse too, but holy shit, this is terrible, to holy shit, why is this happening to us? And that was the first of so many unlocks for Jamie and I about how fucked up women's health is and how we as consumers and people who understand consumers have the ability to make it just a little better.
Yeah, and the whole idea kind of came down to like the CVS or Walgreens women's health aisle. If you have something wrong down there and you don't know what it is, you go and it is so confusing. There are so many different products. The instructions are so confusing. It's not clear how to use them. So we really set out on a mission to simplify that and to give women access to figure out what's going on down there and make it easier.
Love it. So the origin story of Magpie, as I alluded to in my intro, when my dad turned 80, he was all about getting his affairs in order, which I was incredibly lucky that that was the case. Unfortunately, he had lost his vision about 15 years before, and he had this incredible collection of stamps, coins, and Brooklyn Dodgers baseball cards, which he had started building in the 1950s when he was living in East Orange, New Jersey, and used to go to Ebbets Field to watch the Dodgers. So when I was a kid, I was super into a magazine called Sports Illustrated for Kids. I was a gymnast and a diver, and they had cards in the back that had the athletes that I loved. Christy Yamaguchi, Shannon Miller, etc. So I started helping my dad with this process. And holy cow, I absolutely blew my mind. I could not believe how incredibly difficult it was to figure out what he had, what it was worth, and where to sell it. So I spent hours and hours and hours on eBay, basically, trying to get to the bottom of this. I then got to know a lot of the local stores because I figured this is their full-time business. They must have an automated, easy way to do this. Bottom line, they do not. They are very proud when they accept credit card payments. And when you realize that we've had a Mickey Mantle card go for millions of dollars, Michael Jordan jersey that went for $4 million recently, there is so much money here, and yet there's absolutely no good way to understand what it's worth. And the name Magpie comes from the bird, which are hyper-intelligent, really beautiful birds that are known for collecting, sometimes stealing, bright, shiny objects and building their nests with them. So while we don't condone the stealing part, we're all about the super intelligent, collector customer. So,
Amazing thing. Welcome. Did you make it okay with the rain and everything? I know. Oh, I was gonna woo! Yeah, you're here right on time, girlfriend. Okay. So we were just going around and starting with intros, and I think I'm going to give you this one actually, so there's not a crossover. Do you want to give just an introduction of yourself and a little bit more about Parfait, please?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for waiting for me. My name's Isa, one of the co-founders and CEO of Parfait. A bit about myself. I'm a Wharton MBA class of 2021. But prior to Wharton, I started my career at Target in omnichannel distribution. I got really interested in last mile technologies at the time. And lo and behold, I ended up getting recruited by Amazon as one of the first 10 team members to help build their Prime Now 1 to 2 hour fulfillment offering. But what I didn't know, and like a lot of teams at Amazon, we were really just the stealth team building the infrastructure for the Whole Foods acquisition. And so once that was announced, moved over to a PM role on the Whole Foods Ops integration team, really just focused on scaling that new delivery offering in other new markets. I think we did about 234 before I left. But really leading a lot of the product strategy and development of our order fulfillment and workforce management software applications. And so, interestingly enough, a lot of my career has been really focused on using technology to upskill unskilled labor or low-skilled labor. And during that time, I was really excited to see some of my own associates gain data analysis skills, and were able to actually go get other jobs without degrees. And so I wanted to work in this space, continue to build technology for my own communities. And that's really where I enlisted my sister, who is my co-founder. She did her bachelor's and her master's at Stanford in computer science and electrical engineering. She's worked for Google for most of her career in internships over the summer for the last 7 years. And then she finally headed over to MIT, where she focuses on drone swarm coordination for computer vision. She's funded by the US military. We were really just ideating on what we wanted to do in the space with our skill sets, right? Wanted to really focus on building products for people in our community and really focus on solving some of the inequities that we had seen in our own careers as we were working with technology. And so that's really where the genesis of Parfait was born, with this mission to create beauty experiences with technology that recognize and prioritize everyone. And so we ended up starting with wigs and extensions because it's one of the most underserved industries. It hasn't seen technical innovation in the last, in my opinion, 100 years, but let's call it 20 years. And so a lot of the industry has always been really focused on serving suppliers and finding distribution channels. It's been very rare that folks have been focused on actually optimizing the product experience and the purchasing experience for the actual end customers. Distribution is typically through stylists, right? And so why do you care about what the product is like if it's already going to go through this secondary transaction? But I think COVID really brought this, lens, I want to say, into our community of our lack of understanding of how to do our own hair. And so when we did not have access to stylists, we saw this huge surge, which I think we've actually been seeing over the last 10 years of folks going DIY on YouTube and folks really trying to learn more about how to use these products or take care of their own hair. And we realized there was just a major gap in the market around that level of education, as well as just the tools available for women stylists and even retailers to be able to serve women in this product category. And so that's really where Parfait was born, where we really want to reinvent the wig and extension industry, but at the same time, continue to build products and services with technology that truly recognize and prioritize women and people of color.
Thank you. Can you tell us, just because I think it's super interesting, I've been on your website and perusing, I got to talk to your team before this. I want one of your wigs now, also after the website. Could you tell us a little bit about the technology that you have for creating the wigs to be perfectly fit everyone's heads in here?
Yeah. So from a consumer perspective, it's pretty simple. So with just 4 selfies, our AI captures your head measurements and the color palettes of your skin tone. And then we use these as inputs that actually fuel our manufacturing capabilities. So we're vertically integrated. We've created, I want to say, the first AI-powered wig manufacturing plant that exists today. And so the AI technology is really there to capture the biometric information of your facial features and your skin tone to allow us to truly craft a product that's personalized and customized to you. We spent quite, I think, 2 years just building the algorithms and collecting the data, primarily because of a lot of the issues we've experienced with. I think a lot of people are really tapped into the AI scene these days, but I don't think we talk a lot about the deep embedded biases that exist in the data sets that we utilize, as well as just the people and the technologists making these products. And so a lot of what we do, although we make physical products, is building out that data set so that way we can see more equitable outcomes for product and service technologies in the future.
That's great, thank you. And then one easy question, hopefully. How did you come up with the name Parfait?
Oh, yeah. So if you think about what a parfait is, it's a very layered experience. You can make a parfait any way that you want. It's a dessert. It's enjoyable. And so we thought about that in terms of how women think about and express themselves through their hair. It's also a very layered experience. There are a lot of reasons why women wear wigs and extensions, whether it's for medical reasons, for as a protective style, or just in between styles. And so we wanted to make sure the name reflected the uniqueness of the individuals who actually use and wear our products.
Love that. And I think you guys didn't answer my question there about Stix.
Mostly because we don't have a good story.
Okay. That's fine.
Our name, the whole thing. Whew. Do you want to do it?
Yeah. So our first product was a pregnancy test, and the name Stix kind of was a nod to that. We chose STIX. We heard a fact somewhere that the X sound really resonated with consumers, so we were like, let's include that.
Obviously from our Lord and Savior, Sarah Blakely, co-founder of Spanx.
How I built this. We are currently about to be on the other side of a trademark dispute, though, and we're changing our name this summer, so stay tuned. It's a lot better.
Okay, well, thank you.
Resilience.
I feel like I should share too. Parcion is Old French for partnership, so that's how we landed. It's very difficult to name companies. That's why I like to ask this question, because when we were going through with our marketing team 4.5 years ago and trying to name our company, it's like, nope, taken, URL taken. So anyway.
Yeah, I don't recommend trying to do it twice.
Yeah, okay.
Personally.
So it's no secret that starting a company is very difficult, and so in line with today's theme of fortitude, could you guys share a little bit about some challenges you've overcome, or maybe just a story, and especially as it pertains to your fundraising experiences? And we'll start with you guys.
Yeah, we have a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, like we have heard this morning already so many times, less than 2% of venture capital goes to female founders. It is, first of all, an advantage for us to be white women, and that does make things a lot easier for us, and I think that's important to acknowledge at the top of telling any of these stories. But it is also an added challenge to sit in front of 99.9% of the time somebody who has never and will never experience the problems that you're trying to solve. And so we have, I would say, about 1 million stories, horror stories, about raising capital or running this kind of business in the midst of a global pandemic and, you know, the greatest threat to reproductive justice and reproductive rights, hopefully, that our generation will ever know. But I think a really great example is the first time we set out to raise institutional capital, we had over 200 meetings turn into no's. So not like, oh, we emailed you. No, like we talked to 200 people who then rejected us because what we were doing wasn't innovative or wasn't interesting, or they didn't get it, or they didn't see any opportunity in it. And I don't think anything in either of our lives had prepared us for that level and scale of rejection that we were going to experience from that. And I think that was also like we were talking about this last night, one of the most important things for us to go through pretty early in our founder journey, because it taught us very, very quickly resilience and fortitude. And we say all the time that building a company is like running into a brick wall over and over and over and over again, expecting that at some point it will break. I do need to flag that is also the definition of insanity, so do with that what you will. But I think that's true of our fundraising story and our product story and our rebranding story and kind of everything that we've been through the past 5 years.
Yeah. And with those 200 no's, like when you're experiencing that level of rejection from people whose job it literally is, like they went to school for this, they have experience to determine if they're going to make money from your company, you hear no that many times, it's really, really tough to keep going. But at the same time, we had already launched, we launched like bare bones without really fundraising. And we had customers that really loved our products and like would email us being like, I love this mission, I feel so empowered. So we just kept our eyes on that, and we were like, there's something here. We see it, they see it. Eventually we'll find investors who see it, and we did.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, Caroline. It's just Caroline.
You guys talked about fundraising, so maybe I'll talk about team because that's the other incredible challenge. Finding the right people with which to run into brick walls on a daily basis. And I think, every hiring as a startup, I knew it would be challenging, but I don't think I had any clue just how hard it would be to get people to love your baby and to feel that it was their baby in the same way that you do. Very early, I had a contractor basically walk off with my code, and you're in the process of fundraising, trying to tell this incredibly optimistic and amazing vision, and you're like, oh shit, I don't have any code to actually back this up, but I kind of need your money to help get there, right? So when I think the customers for us have also been probably the most grounding force, because when you hear, yes, I need this, it just gives you that will to continue. And I think that the team members who've been able to help us really make the difference are the people who also get inspired by the customers, who even if they're not necessarily directly tied to your problem, or they love seeing something new come into being. And I think that's where you have to find all these different threads to pull on. And I think that's, for me, at Magpie, one of the places where we've been really lucky is over time being able to get team members who are just as excited about running into those brick walls, but then actually building the ladder to get over them, which is so, so important. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say my fundraising story is a little bit different than most. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning when we raised our first 40 grand at the time. So the genesis of Parfait and a lot of the early days were actually while I was studying at Wharton. I was an entrepreneurship and innovation major, so literally every single one of my classes was working on Parfait. At the time, we were a hair intelligence company, which I still love that name, so I put it out there. And so at the time, I got an internship at Microsoft. I was thinking, like, I would never, ever raise money, right? I'm like a woman, I'm a black woman, no one's ever gonna get what I wanna do in this space. It's nothing that anyone's ever gonna understand anyway. So I just decided to build it on my free time and then figure out what I would do for money after I graduated. And while I was there, the only thing I could talk about was this company. And it got so many folks excited, my managers, my skip level. I was in this circle of interns who got to work with this really like elite AI engineering group who wanted to mentor women and people of color during our internship experience. And I was telling them about the business, and they were actually the first people to hand me a check and said, you have to build this. Even if you can't get farther than this 40 grand, I want to make sure you at least get to see the technology come to life. And so I think in that moment I realized this was real. I started going out and applying to every like application website I could find. Didn't have any real connections in venture. And then I submitted this form online to Unshackled Ventures website. And I didn't expect a call back. I immediately got one. I got a first meeting, and I thought they were doing it to be nice because there was this adorable little black girl that they had just hired. And I'm like, of course she got me a meeting. Like, They're never going to get it. And then we keep going through subsequent meetings, and I'm still thinking this is fake the entire time. And then in one of these meetings, they asked me how much I wanted, and I hadn't even thought about it. Because in my mind,
Like you were on Shark Tank, and they were like, "How much do you want?" Like you didn't have the ask.
I didn't have to ask. And so I said something, I was like, oh, we could probably do it with 150K. And then not realizing their minimum check size was 350K. And so after that, I get a phone call from them and saying that they wanted to invest in the company. And I was so excited. And then 4 months later, I broke both of my knees. At that point, I was like, this company is done, right? At that point, we had just hit our first few milestones, and we couldn't move on unless we were going to be able to raise additional capital, because we had to go actually like build this facility in wherever we decided to build it, which ended up being in Texas. And so I was like completely distraught. I ended up like making some hires that I probably shouldn't have made, because I literally could not walk to go visit these facilities. It was like a huge emotional toll as I was thinking about like the fact that I'm about to lose all of these people who believed in me, their money, my parents' money, my sister's money, these people at Microsoft. I'm going to lose all of their money because I physically can't do this. And I just decided not to tell anybody that I'd broken my knees. I actually told one person, one of my female investors, because I figured, if anyone's going to back me, it's going to be her. And then 7 months later, all of a sudden, I'm getting like 3 or 4 term sheets for our Series Seed round. And so I think the experience of breaking my knees was probably the biggest challenge. I mean, it seems obvious, right? Like you can't walk, but I think the emotional toll it took on me and the focus that I had for the business at the time was extremely hard. And I think the fact that I was able to get through that is probably one of the reasons I was able to withstand all the no's that I got through fundraising, because I'm like, if I can learn to walk again, like I don't really care what you think. And I mean, I had people who were backing me, who believed in me, even though they didn't know I'd broken both my knees at the time, right? And so, I mean, I would say that's probably one of the, if not still, the greatest challenge I've had to overcome thus far.
Has anyone here had to fundraise with 2 broken legs? No, that's the definition of fortitude.
I did have to fundraise with like a 2-year-long fever. Yeah.
Long COVID?
2 years?
Yeah,
Wow.
not long COVID, but another kind of weird and mysterious illness for like many, many years. And we raised our seed during it. And it was lucky that it was during the pandemic. So similarly, like nobody really understood what was going on.
Interesting.
It worked well.
Well, Jamie and Cynthia, I know that you two recently made a decision around fundraising that helped your company in a surprising way. Do you want to share that story a little bit?
Yeah. So I'll start. Is that all right? Okay. So we have raised about $8 million to date. So it's like decent amount of capital. And like many other consumer folks in here, were really impacted by when iOS 14 was released, and basically the ability to acquire a consumer fell out from underneath us. And we spent a year trying to wiggle our way through and figure it all out, and eventually we really were backed into a corner. We had an M&A deal fall apart. We were running low on cash. I was worried about making payroll. We were really not sleeping. And we knew that we needed a couple of things. We needed to be able to survive. It's a rough economy. It's a rough market out there, especially in the CPG space, unless you're AI-powered wigs, in which case I'm sure it is so great, but for a lot of us, it's pretty miserable. And we knew we weren't in a position to be able to raise capital, but we needed some money. We needed to figure things out. And we also knew that we needed to somehow have a product that was different from what else was out there today. Because to date, we had really been building brand and content and education, but not necessarily investing a ton of innovation on the actual product side. And so, in kind of what I think is classic Cynthia and Jamie form, with no other choice, we made the difficult decision, despite having raised what felt like a buck ton of venture capital, to focus on getting profitable and really controlling our own destiny. That had been a focus of ours for a year, but we had thought about doing that through raising money or selling the business. And all of a sudden, we said, all right, the real option and the real control will come from profitability. And so we made a lot of hard decisions. We, like Kathryn was saying, had to make a lot of tough people decisions and cut a lot of our team, including people who had bet on us from really early days. We scaled back on basically everything. Jamie will love to tell you about how she has no marketing budget anymore these days. but it's working. The business, in so many ways, has never been stronger. We just had our first EBITDA positive month in January. Congratulations. We figured out a way to create a truly new-to-market product without having to invest in the massive amount of way that is required to create a new medical device, and that is launching in like 6 weeks. And we're like on a strong path to control our own destiny, whether that means continuing profitably, raising more capital, or exiting in a way that will be meaningful for us and our investors. But none of that would have happened had we not been backed into this incredibly low and incredibly tight corner.
Do you have anything to add to that, Jamie?
Yeah, I think raising the venture capital in our first few years allowed us to really build a brand and get in touch with customers and learn so much about the market and really like hone in on the problem. And that has allowed us to get profitable. And we've really just done that through like ruthless prioritization. Cynthia and I every day are making really difficult decisions, and it's like almost like we have blinders on and we're like marching towards this KPI. And I've never seen really like us operate with this much focus and this much determination. And raising the venture capital and getting to this point really has allowed us to do that. And it really feels like it's like just the beginning of our brand and our company, which is wild because we've been doing this for 5 years and we almost sold the company this past summer. And it's really been an interesting, unexpected experience.
That's great. And no relation to Tom being Superfly, helping you guys also help out build your business.
Yeah.
80% Tom.
Yeah.
By the way, I just won that bet, and I stole it from you guys.
Damn!
Just a little inside joke there. How are we doing on time, by the way? 5 minutes? Okay. So before we turn to the audience for questions, I want Kathryn, Iso, Jamie, and Cynthia, you guys have an opportunity to share with everyone here, maybe in any way that we can help support what you're building, and if there's anything that we can be doing for you.
Want me to go first? Yeah. So key things that Magpie needs. Number one, we are looking for a couple of angels to finish out our existing round. So might as well make the ask in front of lots of investors, right? We have some really exciting corporate white label opportunities that are so fun and exciting, and there's lots of growth for us on the horizon. So that's first. The second thing is that we are always looking for great talent, particularly in engineering and design. I feel like that's one where can never stop recruiting. The minute you stop is when you realize you actually need somebody else, and then you're like, oh God, I gotta start this again. That's the second thing. And then the third thing is I would love to meet all of the collectors in your lives. It's really funny. Women don't identify with this concept of collectors. People often think that collectors are like kind of grumpy old men that have, you know, their collections of baseball cards or comic books stashed away. So let me tell you two things. Number one, you all are going to outlive those grumpy old men, and then you're going to have to deal with their stuff. So number one. The second thing is that how many handbags, how many pairs of shoes, how much jewelry do you have in your closets? You may not identify as a collector, but let me tell you, you are. They hold value. Some of that value will grow depending on the condition that you keep your items in. So what's going to be amazing is that after this session, you're suddenly going to find so many people that have the most esoteric and random collections in your lives, and then send them to Magpie. MagpieCollectibles.com or Magpie Hobby on Instagram. So, thank you.
As we launch our new brand and introduce new products, we're super focused on getting into retail locations. So if anyone can introduce us to amazing retailers, that's always an ask. And then we're also always looking for advisors and people to help us move the company forward. So right now, we're looking for folks with a lot of deep experience in PR and media for the new brand launch.
I will add to that. I just had a thought. Oh, yes. We are actually launching in our first retail stores in 7 weeks. So if you live near a Giant, if you could go buy Stix UTI products, they're going to be amazing, and it will do wonders for our business. Follow us on all of the socials. We're Get Stix, the best like pop culture X vagina content that you didn't know that you needed. It's really entertaining and wonderful. And then speaking of esoteric collections, liquidators. Bane of my existence in rebranding is getting rid of some dang old products. So if anybody is a liquidator, knows a liquidator, is building a liquidator company, good on you. That is a market that needs innovation.
Also, one more, if you have any friends or you yourself are an influencer or have a large social media following, let us know and we'll send you lots of products.
Okay, and then I know we're running slightly over, but does anyone have any burning questions for our founders up here? Yes.
Mine is for Jamie.
Hi.
Also a big fellow.
Oh.
Hi.
My question is about how you all have pivoted to reach profitability while also maintaining a relatively healthy marketing budget. So what are some
I'm just going to repeat the question real quickly. The question's around how have they obtained profitability while also maintaining a relatively manageable yeah, okay. Marketing budget.
Yeah, great question. We, to be honest, like don't really have a marketing budget. So we cut everything that wasn't profitable. So we're still spending on marketing where it's ROAS positive. And then we were spending, never crazy amounts, but we were spending on brand and partnerships and like activations. We pretty much stopped all of that and are only doing organic. So we've gotten creative. We have like one example that I think feels relevant. We have our sex ed site called Real Talk, and instead of working with influencers in the traditional sense, we now interview them for a Real Talk article and then post it together like as a collab post. So it's almost like we're giving that influencer some earned media, but at the same time, it's like giving us the same reach with that influencer's audience. So just kind of getting creative, but it's not easy or fun all the time. But basically just like cutting anything that wasn't giving us returns.
You guys have been super focused on your unit economics.
Yes.
Any other questions? Oh, Allie?
I just have a question about the brick wall analogy, which is over in Korea. I think I can compare it similarly to a horror movie where you're just constantly walking. Ghosts are gonna jump out at you. But I mean, all of you have such incredible stories of resilience. What strategies did you use to get through those brick walls to like avoid the ghosts in the grocery store and like to get you to this point with those signs?
Well, you don't actually get to avoid them. You just have to fight them, basically, every single day. Exercise is one. So one of the benefits of Rogue Women is they actually pay for coaching for founders, and I found having an external coach in some of the darkest moments just so compelling to make it realize, like, many people have done this before you, many people will do it afterwards. I think having great advisors, investors, co-founders is a third one, because then you get to live the horror with them. And then I think the other piece, well, but it means you're not by yourself, And then I guess the last piece is that each ghost that you fight or you face makes the next one that much like less scary, and it gives you that much more confidence that you're going to be able to overcome and figure out your way around or through the maze. So
I think my number one favorite thing to tell people is to take care of your whole self. I obviously, during our 5 years, had some like very complicated and difficult health things happen. You could just one day wake up and break both your knees, right? And so I think my best piece of advice I can ever give somebody is to take care of your mental health and your physical health and your relationships. And this shit is hard. And yes, ghosts become less scary and the wall becomes a little bit softer. and having all of the like professional things done is really important. But I like got on an SSRI for the first time and spent a lot of money on therapy and moved my body and invest in my relationships and my identity outside of my company, to your point about how hard that is in selling it. And all of those things and being attempting to be a rounded person despite being in the trenches every day, I think is so incredibly important to be able to bounce back up after. And Jamie Norwood, that's helpful too.
Also, something that has helped me a lot is just like a general mindset shift around work. Cynthia and I both see a coach, and that's helped wonders. But at one point, a couple years ago, I was like, I feel like I have to brace myself every Monday morning because like something horrible happens every day. And she was like, so you brace yourself. And now, like, going into the week and going into the workday, I just like expect for there to be terrible challenges, and you overcome them. And it's, you know, when you make that your reality in your day-to-day, it doesn't seem so bad.
Do you have anything else to share? Final thoughts?
Yeah, well, I try to maintain a healthy level of delusion. I think there was even a point, I think, when it got really, really hard for us, where some of my investors were telling me to like think about packing it up, and I was like, hell no, we're not doing that. We'll take it to the very last second. And not surprisingly to me, but surprisingly to them, we ended up closing around like maybe 2 days before we ran out of cash. But that level of delusion got me to the brink, and it helped us get to the other side. So just really think about making sure you trust your gut, trust your instincts, and that you know your business better than anyone else.
All right, well, thank you, ladies. Let's get a round of applause.